This is ABC15 Mornings.
Vaccines for babies and toddlers.
Many parents of children under 5 that are just really drained and exhausted.
A new pediatric vaccine as COVID cases tick upward.
Monkeypox cases showing up in several countries.
Vaccines that are effective against this virus, we have sufficient amounts of them.
The U.S. releasing a vaccine from its stockpile.
The prices keep going up.
Nothing's been done about it. I mean, something should be done by now.
Gas prices breaking records every single morning.
Will it save you money on your next vacation?
A lot of travelers have really wanted a lot of flexibility to jump on a specific fare when they see it.
More people begin using travel subscriptions.
Yeah, we're going to explore, can this maybe save you some money? Because we know the prices of flights, my goodness, just keep going up.
I know, and as we start to get into those summer months, you're going to probably want to get out of Dodge a little bit, right? Hey, good morning, everyone. I'm Allison Rodriguez, in for Kaylee O'Kelly today.
And I'm Nick Saletti here. Happy Tuesday to you. Let's talk about that most accurate forecast. If you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen, my friend.
Now, and that's what we always say, right? If you can't handle it, well, you know.
Hey, this is nothing, Iris, compared to what we see later on.
No, seriously, right? We're kind of easing into this next round of triple digits. But just know that temperatures are going to be climbing in the coming days. In fact, today they're already going to be a little bit warmer. Our heat risk is going up as a result, too. So today, still in the low to moderate range. But notice what's happening as we head into Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. That heat risk is climbing. And so essentially, that means that most of us will be at risk for heat illness. So start considering those plans these next few days and maybe get outdoors early as opposed to later in the day. Today we get one more day in the 90s, in the double digits, but just barely. Phoenix topping out at 99. Then we're into the hundreds and we're going to go as high as 106 it looks like now, Thursday and Friday, and still pretty hot on Saturday too. So as you're thinking about your weekend plans, know that the hundreds are likely to stay. But temperatures will drop slightly towards Memorial Day. I'm going to show you those changes and take you through that hour-by-hour forecast to help you make those plans in just a few minutes. Megan Thompson, though, joining us with an update on that morning drive. And Megan, it was smooth until now.
Right. We have a traffic alert to tell everybody about. This is Off the Freeways. We give you a check of traffic sponsored by Accident Law Group. Our photojournalist on the ground zooming into this scene. This is near 21st Street and Palm Lane. This is just north. This scene is north of McDowell Road near the 51, and we're being told by our ABC15 photojournalist here that Palm Lane and the SR51 frontage road is restricted because of this scene. What we're learning over the last few minutes is that this came out as a shooting investigation, and then during this altercation at some point, some of those folks involved tried to flee the scene and then crashed into a block wall. So we have multiple aspects of this investigation going on in that area. Again, 21st Street and Palm Lane. That frontage road is restricted near the 51. This is just north of McDowell Road. And then you will not be able to really access Palm Lane as you look at all of those first responders. We also have first responders leaving the scene on the I-10 eastbound near 75th Avenue. So that's some good news as there's a crash off to the right-hand side. You notice we are starting to see some slowing here on the 10. So a look at your desert drive time so you know when to leave is still ahead.
Let's go ahead, get you updated now on gas prices. Another new record high for gas prices in our state. Overnight, the average for a gallon of regular unleaded here in Arizona hitting $4.91, but the Valley paying 30 cents more on average at $5.20 a gallon. The highest prices we're seeing right now are in the West Valley. The dangers of running on empty. This morning, we're learning more about that deadly crash on the I-17 that started with someone running out of gas. DPS says a woman crashed into a stalled car Monday morning near the Cactus exit there on the 17. When she got out of her car, she was hit by a third vehicle. AAA says the rising gas prices have more people waiting to fill up. In March, they saw an 11% increase in Arizonans calling for gas help compared to March of last year.
These are things that can be avoided, and just by taking those steps to make sure that you are prepared to go out there on the road before you even leave your house.
2 other people were injured in that crash. DPS tells us they are expected to survive.
Investigators, they're out in Tempe looking into an early morning fire. It happened at an apartment complex around 3:30 this morning. More than a half dozen units affected by this, mostly because of smoke damage. We can tell you everybody was able to get out safely. It's 6:04, and today another death row inmate in Arizona will be in court. Attorneys for Frank Atwood are expected to ask his life be spared. Jamie Warren joining us live now with background on this case that dates back over 30 years. Jamie, can you walk us through this?
Allison, he was convicted of murder back in 1987, and if he is denied clemency today, he will be one step closer to his scheduled execution on June 8th. And I do want to take you back for just a minute, because since Frank Atwood was convicted of murder before 1992, that does mean that he could have received the gas chamber or lethal injection as his method of execution, but because he denied to pick a method, officials say he will now die by lethal injection. Atwood's crimes are so devastating and horrific that over the years it has been difficult to find anyone willing to talk about them. Investigators say in 1984 he followed 8-year-old Vicky Hoskinson, a smiley, curly-haired girl, while she was riding her bicycle to the mailbox to drop off a birthday card for her aunt. Investigators say he kidnapped Vicky, took her life, and dumped her body in the Tucson desert. If his execution goes as scheduled, Atwood will be the second death row inmate in Arizona to be executed within the past 2 months. Clarence Dixon was executed 2 weeks ago after being sentenced to death in 2002 for murdering an ASU student. Dixon was the first execution to take place in Arizona since 2014 after an 8-year pause because of a botched execution. So as for Atwood, this will be his last chance to plea for his life. His hearing is scheduled at 9 o'clock this morning. We'll let you know what happens online and, of course, during our 11 o'clock hour on ABC15. Allison.
Well, meantime, the U.S. Supreme Court ruling against 2 men on Arizona's death row. The 2 men claiming their lawyers did a poor job representing them in state court. This decision not only impacts them, but it will make it more difficult for inmates across the country to argue their counsel was ineffective.
6:06, the number of new COVID-19 cases in kids is now up 72% in just 2 weeks. Pediatric cases have been increasing steadily over the last 6 weeks, but parents may be able to get their youngest kids vaccinated as soon as the end of June if the FDA and CDC sign off. On top of reviewing Pfizer's vaccine for kids as young as 6 months old, we know the FDA is also going to consider Moderna's shot. Now to the growing concern about the rare outbreak of monkeypox. At least 5 states have suspected or confirmed cases right now, and the government is digging into its national stockpile of monkeypox vaccines. Here's ABC's M. Nguyen with the latest.
Doctors in Washington state are the latest to announce they're treating a patient with a suspected case of monkeypox, bringing the number of states investigating cases to 5. There's 1 confirmed case in Massachusetts, and overnight, health officials near Seattle announced the country's 6th presumptive case, a man who recently traveled to a country where monkeypox cases have been identified. In South Florida, doctors are investigating 2 presumptive cases. Both patients also recently traveled internationally.
The people who are in contact with that person, know about it.
The virus, typically only seen in Africa, is spreading with more than 200 confirmed or suspected cases in 18 countries. Doctors say it's spread by coming into close contact with lesions, bodily fluid, or respiratory droplets. The flu-like symptoms lead to rashes on the body with a recovery time of 2 to 3 weeks. The CDC is raising awareness in the LGBTQ+ community because many of the cases worldwide involve men identifying as gay or bisexual. An advisor to the World Health Organization tells the Associated Press the leading theory to explain the outbreak is sexual transmission at rave parties in Spain and Belgium.
I don't think that there's a great risk to the general community from monkeypox right now in the United States. I think that we need to pay close attention to the communities in which this might be circulating.
The U.S. government is now releasing some monkeypox vaccines from the national stockpile. The CDC says those vaccines will be for a small number of people who have been exposed. It says there is no need to vaccinate the general public.
M. Nguyen, ABC News, Washington.
6:09 next on ABC15 Mornings. It's been 3 months since Russia invaded Ukraine, but is there any end in sight? We're going to Washington for a live report.
Plus, it's the courtroom drama being watched by millions. Now, another star witness will testify in Johnny Depp's defamation trial against Amber Heard. Happening overnight, President Joe Biden meeting with world leaders in Tokyo as he wraps up his Asia trip. The president holding a summit with Japan, Australia, and India. President Biden urging the group to make greater efforts to stop Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The FBI saying active shooter incidents rose 50% from 2020 to 2021. The Bureau saying the number has been rising steadily for the last 5 years. There were 61 active shooter incidents in the last year. Amber Heard's legal team will not call actor Johnny Depp to testify in his defamation trial against her. The lawsuit stems from an essay where Heard claimed to be a victim of abuse. Tomorrow, Kate Moss is expected to take the stand. The supermodel dated Depp back in the 90s. Someone became a billionaire every 30 hours during the pandemic. A report from Oxfam finding 573 people hit billionaire status, most in food, technology, and pharmaceutical industries. And at the same time, the organization says 1 million people go into extreme poverty every 33 hours.
6:13 today marks 3 months since the start of the Russian-Ukraine war. We know millions of Ukrainians have had to flee. Joining us live from Washington, D.C. this morning is our chief political correspondent, Joe St. George. Joe, I think what's on so many people's minds right now is when exactly is this war going to end?
You know, Nick, reporters, certainly U.S. officials are trying to read the tea leaves, right? Try to see, okay, is President Zelensky of Ukraine, President Putin of Russia, are they getting serious at all about a possible peace deal? And quite frankly, I don't have much good news to report on that. There hasn't really been any serious effort to break and broker a deal the last several weeks. As a result, we're talking about this grim anniversary. And Nick, you and I may be chatting 3 months from now on the 6-month anniversary. We have the numbers, which I think are so critical of understanding. And the most important number is the number of human lives impacted by this conflict. Over 8 million people have been forced to flee as a result of the United Nations refugee latest stats because of this conflict, leaving towns to other places, safer places in Ukraine, or in some cases to other European countries. Some have come to the U.S. through the southern border. 3,900 or so have been killed, although they will say, at the United Nations say, that is really an estimate. It's tough to get actual numbers. Some of these areas have been hit so hard it's tough to have accurate reporting. In terms of the American taxpayer, there has been sacrifices as well. $54 billion spent since March, including that $40 billion aid package the president recently signed. So this war is continuing, and unfortunately, Nick, there's no end in sight.
I had the honor of speaking with some refugees when I was in Poland last month, and your heart just breaks for them. I mean, it's just heartbreaking. I want to move on real quick to a domestic issue. This week, Title 42 was set to end, but it was blocked by a federal judge. So the big question this morning is, what's next? I mean, could this go through the summer?
I think there's a real likelihood of that because legal challenges are going to continue. Certainly the Department of Justice wants that decision by this Louisiana federal judge to be overturned. But Nick, you know this. The legal process takes time. This could be something that makes it all the way to the Supreme Court. And quite frankly, there is a lot of political pressure coming from Democrats to not have this end before the midterm election. So the urgency to end this is certainly not felt in Washington, D.C. from a political standpoint, even though, and Nick, you know this, immigration advocates in Phoenix, in the Valley, in Arizona, they believe the U.S. has a responsibility to start responsibly welcoming some people facing persecution. We'll be chatting about this throughout most of the summer. This controversial topic will continue.
Yeah, something impacts the whole country, especially us here in Arizona. Joe St. George live in D.C. for us this morning. In the meantime, let's talk about your most accurate forecast. Meteorologist Iris Hermosillo joining us with that as we begin to warm up later this week, Iris.
Oh, yeah, those temperatures are starting to climb. In fact, today, but those triple digits, they're on the way as we head into the later half of the week. But this morning, having a gorgeous start to the day. And I wanted to start off by showing you a view of the North Phoenix Mountains, Paiestoa Peak in the mix too as we look live with our Mayo Clinic Valley Cam. A few thin clouds out there, hard to really see, but they're out there as we start the day with mostly clear skies here on this Tuesday morning. So the view is gorgeous and temperatures, they're not doing too bad either. As you look at those conditions around the valley with me, we're talking 60s and 70s here to start the day. The Southeast Valley, Chandler, you're down to 68 degrees. Not as cool as you were yesterday when you were in the 50s, but hey, we'll take those 60s. Mesa, you're checking in at 71. Glendale and Goodyear, you're at 70 degrees. And for Phoenix at Sky Harbor, as expected, we've dropped another few degrees. We're now at 76 at the airport. Now, if you want to maybe hit the trails, you still have some time before it starts to get a little uncomfortable. My advice, though, get outside these next few hours because temperatures, as you can see, will be back into the mid-80s by 10 a.m. Then look at lunchtime. We're up to 91 degrees by then. So your best bet, get out before 10 o'clock and get done by then, or at the very least be done by lunchtime when temperatures start to get a little uncomfortable. Then by this afternoon, we're looking for highs that are going to end up right near normal for most spots. Phoenix Sky Harbor up to 99. Our 30-year average is 98, so we'll be close to that. 99 in Glendale and in Laveen, but we could inch up to 100 in spots like Peoria and Goodyear. Those look to be the hottest spots. Meanwhile, Cave Creek up to 95 and the cooler spots, Apache Junction also in the mid-90s today. In the western pockets of our state, we could make it into the hundreds out at Lake Havasu today and maybe Quartzsite. Meanwhile, northern Arizona, 70s and 80s this afternoon. We're actually below freezing in Flagstaff right now, but by this afternoon, a high of 71 degrees. Winds will also be a factor again. Breezy in northern Arizona and here in the valley, but look what's happening in eastern Arizona. We start to see those brighter colors indicating some stronger winds. Eastern and southeast Arizona will get gusts as high as 40 miles an hour today. For the valley, gusts to 30 miles an hour this afternoon. But because of the strong winds and very dry conditions, you know we've got the fire risk that's going up. Red flag warnings in place for that southeast pocket of our state and also for Apache County. Spots like Eager and St. John's just north of the White Mountains under a red flag warning today too. So a reminder that that fire risk is still high as we get those stronger winds. Winds ease up as high pressure builds in, but that means more heat with highs going as high as 106 Thursday and Friday, then more winds with highs in the hundreds through the holiday.
ABC 15 Desert Drive Time, sponsored by Accident Law Group.
As we approach 6:20 now on your Tuesday morning, I'm Megan Thompson, letting you know what's going on out there on the roads. This is a view of the I-10 eastbound near 75th Avenue. We do have a DPS trooper off to the right-hand side. A fire truck was on scene. They have left, so now we only have the right shoulder blocked by this scene. But we know oftentimes when we see those flashing lights, folks start to slow down, which is what you should do. And if you can, you should move over at least one lane. That is the law here in Arizona. Let's look at those desert drive times sponsored by Accident Law Group because that is the only crash that I'm tracking on Valley freeways this morning. I-10 eastbound from the Loop 303 to the mini stack. Past that crash, we are in the yellow. Drive time is checking in at 26 minutes. As we look at the I-17 southbound from the 101 to the stack, that's right around 12 minutes. And then the 51 southbound from the Loop 101 to the mini stack, that is checking in at about 13 minutes. Coming up in the next half hour, we're going to talk about those traffic predictor speeds to see what they look like. If you're heading out the door in the next half hour or hour, I'll have that still ahead, Allison.
Okay, we'll see you then, Megan. From fast food to TV channels, almost everything today has a subscription. So coming up at 6:24, it's coming to the travel industry, how you can subscribe to your next vacation.
Honoring our veterans at 6:32, a live report from the University of Phoenix where thousands of American flags will be planted as a tribute to our fallen heroes.
From 8,000 of them to zero, nothing. The last payphone standing gone now in the Big Apple. At 6:45, where it's headed to be remembered forever.
6:24 on a Tuesday. This week marks the start of what's expected to be a busy summer travel season. Something new we're starting to see more of right now, flight subscriptions. Alaska Airlines, for instance, launching a flight pass that's $49 a month. Subscribers can book one round trip flight every 2 months for a penny plus about $15 in fees. But this is only for flights between certain airports in California, Nevada, and here in Arizona.
A lot of travelers have really wanted a lot of flexibility to jump on a specific fare when they see it, rather than being in many ways locked into a specific subscription model where they have committed to pay for a certain amount.
So like with any subscription service, make sure to crunch the numbers because companies are counting on you paying more for a plan than you're getting out of it.
All right, our Arizona Cardinals back on the field. They're getting ready for the next season, but notably missing quarterback Kyler Murray. Feel like the drama continues, right? The Cards starting organized team activities in Tempe this week. Right now, Murray's looking for a new long-term contract, and it's become common for players to skip voluntary workouts, hoping to get those contract talks moving. Head coach Cliff Kingsbury saying he expects Murray will be at their mandatory mini camp next month.
This is my vow. All gods will die.
Okay, did you watch this during Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals? Marvel dropping a new trailer for Thor: Love and Thunder with the first look at the film's villain, played by Christian Bale.
Yeah, the teaser also shows the God of Thunder reuniting with his ex, who's now wielding her own hammer. Thor: Love and Thunder hits theaters July 8th. Got a lot of people talking about Thor possibly being seen in the buff, too. Yeah,
whoa.
That's a moment. We'll see how many views this trailer has.
This isn't that kind of show, Allison.
Whoa. Well, talk to Marvel. All right, next at 6:30. When is the stock market slump going to come to an end? What the past couple of months means for those looking to retire.
Everyone keeps telling me I'm a hero, and I don't feel like a hero.
8 minutes of uncertainty for this Valley dad who performed CPR to keep his daughter alive. The message he's sharing this morning for all parents to hear.
And honoring our fallen military heroes, it's the reason behind Memorial Day, and the University of Phoenix is putting up a very special display this morning to make sure we remember. I'll have a live preview coming up at 6:30.